There's still a number of them that are displaced. Over 50 residents are still being displaced.
Tonight, an Alberta First Nation continues with the fallout of the summer wildfires, as many people are still waiting for help from the federal and provincial governments.
Economic reconciliation must not be an afterthought, but a guiding principle of Canada's critical minerals strategy.
The National Chief says Canada needs a constitutional review of the 1930 Natural Resource Transfer Act.
As youth, we have a big role to play in the development of our communities, and it's important that we empower each other to really have an impact back home.
And the next generation of Indigenous business leaders recently gathered in Gatineau, Quebec. Tansei, good evening. I'm Cree. Welcome to APTN National News. Thank you for joining us. In late May, a wildfire burned through the evacuated community of Chipuan Lake in Treaty 8 territory, a part of Bigstone Cree Nation in Alberta. Almost half of the structures were destroyed, and Bigstone's chief says the federal and provincial governments have been slow to help. APTN's Chris Stewart has more.
Not long after residents of the Chipuan Lake in northern Alberta were evacuated, a massive fire engulfed the small community. And when the fires receded, the damage to the infrastructure was immense. Chief Andy Alec was happy residents escaped safely, but the damage will take years to fix.
In the Chipuan Lake community, we lost the outreach center, we lost the Bigstone Health Center, we lost the water treatment plant, we lost the church, and we lost 22 residents. So there's about 62 structures in total within Chipuan Lake.
Close to half the community destroyed, and there are still members without a place to stay.
There's still a number of them that are displaced. Over 50 residents are still being displaced.
Chief Alec says both the federal and provincial governments have been slow to help.
It hasn't been an easy and smooth transition to access funding, and I would say that it was also delaying a lot of supports and services for our membership that have been evacuated.
APTN asked if the assistance from governments was the same as the town of Jasper after the 2024 wildfire that destroyed much of the town site.
Absolutely not. I think the things that happened in Jasper were expedited, and there was a lot of media attention. There was a lot of resources that were poured into Jasper in comparison to what had happened in Chipuan Lake. Unfortunately, I don't feel that we got all the resources that were needed within Chipuan Lake in a timely manner. Even now, having visited the community at Chipuan Lake yesterday, we're only now getting temporary housing for the residences that that had burned.
APTN contacted the Alberta Emergency Management Agency for comment. They referred us to Indigenous Services Canada. Indigenous Services Canada did not comment on the Chief's concerns before airtime. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Bigstone Cree Nation, Alberta.
Last Tuesday, the Treaty 8 First Nations of Alberta issued a statement warning the Crown and all levels of government that they oppose any dumping of treated tailing pond water into nearby rivers without their consent. Tailing ponds are massive storage reservoirs for wastewater. In the case of the oil sands operations in northeastern Alberta, they contain the leftover water from extracting oil and other leftover oil byproducts. It is estimated that the Alberta oil sands contains more than 1.4 trillion liters of those tailings. The Treaty 8 First Nations says that any tailings, including treated tailings, must meet their safety standards and have their free, prior, and informed consent before they are dumped in waterways within their territory. The head of the Assembly of First Nations says Canada needs to conduct a constitutional review of the 1930 Natural Resource Transfer Act. National Chief Cindy Woodhouse-Nepanak made the comments during her testimony at the House of Commons Standing Committee on Natural Resources in Ottawa this week. The committee is conducting a study on the development of critical minerals in Canada with some of the focus on Indigenous rights. The National Chief says Indigenous rights must be respected, with economic reconciliation at the forefront of any discussion on critical minerals.
All of Canada's laws and policy, including both their final content and the process for the development, must be compliant with Section 5 of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples Act and the objectives of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples itself. Economic reconciliation must guide critical minerals policies and activities. Economic reconciliation must not be an afterthought, but a guiding principle of Canada's critical minerals strategy.
The National Chief adds that economic reconciliation must also include policies and programs that enable First Nations to participate as stakeholders, rights holders, and equity partners. It's almost time for the Nunavut to head to the polls, as Monday is election day for the 2025 Nunavut territorial election. Current Premier P.J. Akiaguk, along with 7 other sitting members of the Legislative Assembly, are not seeking re-election, leaving their ridings up for grabs. 4 candidates are looking to claim the Premier riding of Iqaluit Niakungu. David Akiaguk, the MLA for Katituk, is moving over. Titanik Lucy Jacopusi Peter and Walter Pico are all vying for seats. There are no political parties at the territorial level in Nunavut, and there are 22 members of the Nunavut legislature. They decide in a secret ballot who the next premier, cabinet, and House Speaker will be. If you have a story you want to see, here's how to reach us. Send us an email to news@aptn.ca, and don't forget to include the 5 W's and make sure to leave your contact number. And to read and watch our stories you may have missed, go to aptnnews.ca. You can also follow along with us on social media on TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow APTN News to keep you up to date. Before we go to break, our reporter Savannah Craig was in the Mi'kmaq community of Listuguj in Quebec earlier this month. She was there to find out what some are calling a drug crisis impacting their community. Here's a preview of the 2-part series airing next week.
Hi, I'm Savannah Craig. I'm in Listuguj Mi'kmaq First Nation, where many people are upset over drugs in the community. Right next to me is a sign commemorating the death of 18-year-old Savannah Metallic, who passed away due to a drug overdose earlier this year.
It's hard because she didn't deserve what happened to her. The drugs are a serious issue. That's been forever. It's ongoing. Nothing is changing. Nothing is stopping.
In our upcoming 2-part report, we'll be speaking with community members who have been personally affected by this issue.
We have at least 1 death a month, sometimes 2.
And those who are working within services to provide support to addiction.
That's the hurt in our people. That's the trauma. And I don't even want to call it trauma because it's worse than that. That is what's handed down to us. That is where the alcohol and drugs to suppress it.
Stay tuned to APTN News to watch this 2-part report.
Welcome back. The Central Urban Métis Federation, or CUMFI for short, has opened a new safe house for Indigenous women, children, and 2S LGBTQ+ people fleeing from domestic violence. The facility in Saskatoon features emergency and long-term housing wings and can accommodate up to 20 families. APTN's Rachel May was at the grand opening.
And we just hope that our community knows that we are going to open and that we're going to be safe and welcoming.
President of CUMFI, Shirley Eisbester, spoke at the opening of Aggie and Shirley's house, named after both her and her mother, Agnes Karen. The shelter is funded with $7.6 million from the federal government, $540,000 each from the province and city of Saskatoon, and $1.4 million from National Indigenous Collaborative Housing. The shelter will offer residents furnished 3-bedroom suites and trauma-informed counseling from elders.
And the goal has always been that when Indigenous women come to this home, that the first face they're going to see is a brown face. They'll know then that they have some support when we see our own people in that space, and they're the leaders of the space. And so that's always been our goal.
Saskatoon Mayor Cynthia Block said there had been opposition to bringing affordable housing projects to various areas of the city. She hopes projects like this will change minds and build the well-being of the city as a whole.
When people are unhoused, we're all impacted. When people are unsafe, we are all impacted. When we are living in a city where there is domestic violence and children who are witnessing domestic violence, and we think it doesn't touch us, those are blinders.
Aggie and Shirley's house will welcome its first families on November 16th, the 140th anniversary of the day Louis Riel was hung in 1885. Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
A First Nation in Manitoba is doing their part to create more affordable housing in Winnipeg. Broken Head Ojibwe Nation says they want to make sure their members living in the city have a safe and budget-friendly place to call home.
3, 2, 1.
The yet-to-be-constructed apartment complex named the Elsewood will stand 7 stories and hold 147 rental units with amenities. It will sit along the Assiniboine River in Winnipeg's Osborne Village neighborhood and should be completed in the next 2 years. The project is wholly owned by Broken Head Ojibwe Nation. Their chief, Gordon Bluesky, says it's the First Nation's first groundbreaking for a project of this scale within their territory of Treaty 1. Roughly 40% of the units will be affordable housing geared towards students and those who need it most. Manitoba's Housing and Homelessness Minister Bernadette Smith says the project represents economic reconciliation in action.
Access to safe and affordable housing remains a top priority for our government. We know that too many people, especially Indigenous people, face barriers to housing. Our relatives are overrepresented in our urban homelessness population and continue to experience housing shortages in home communities. So we have a responsibility to change that, and that's exactly what Broken Head is doing.
The next generation of Indigenous leaders and entrepreneurs gathered this week in Gatineau, Quebec. They took part in a leadership building program brought to them by a Montreal-based First Nations business school. Nungunske Rose Jacobs has the story.
It exceeded all of my expectations.
It was the experience Raphael Langevay hoped for after a 6.5-hour drive to Gatineau from Mashtwayet's First Nation.
I mean, the people we got to meet are people that you don't meet, it's a small, we bump into each other sometimes, but to really have the time to to listen to those people, to ask our question, it was very nice and very inspiring.
Langevay and 23 other participants, ages 18 to 35, from various First Nations, attended the First Nations Executive Education's 4-day program themed Trail Forward, where future Indigenous leaders and entrepreneurs received university-level training. There, they were able to network, hear from political officials, and discuss with each other and organizers what they need to achieve their goals. Former Assembly of First Nations Regional Chief and FNEE Associate Professor Ghislaine Picard spoke with participants.
First Nation executive education is very key, and we're just adding, another option to what's out there for our peoples, and the kind of training that's being offered is really tailored to the realities of our communities.
Participants attended immersive workshops, training sessions, and group discussions. This will provide them with the tools to progress in their careers. Innu and Anishinaabe academic co-lead of the program, Jay Lunia Machez, wished opportunities like this had been around for himself.
So I'm really glad of this opportunity that I have to work with the Executive First Nation Education to build up this program, to meet the youth, to understand what they have to say, and to try to improve this program year after year to respond to what they need.
Over the week, everyone learned about civic engagement, stronger public speaking skills, and better time management. Picard drove several hours for the conference because of its significance to him.
It's always been important in my mind to be present. In any given opportunity, especially when looking at our youth, who are almost a majority in some of our communities. So they need that kind of not only presence but support.
With an influx of applicants, organizers reaffirmed their plans to host 3 cohorts each year. Langevay wants other youth to experience what she did.
I feel like as youth, we have a big role to play in the development of our communities, and it's important that we empower each other to really have an impact back home.
Nagonska Rose Jacobs, APTN National News, Gatineau, Quebec.
We have all new episodes of APTN Investigates and New Val National will air just after this show. Those previews when we come back. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Time now for our photo of the day. It's that time of year again, cold and flu season. Jetta shared this picture of her daughter Lovely getting her flu shot. Jetta says Lovely is scared of needles but was brave enough to get her important flu shot. Great job to Lovely for being tough. I remember those days in grade 1. If you have a picture you want to be featured, all you have to do is send it to share at aptnnews.ca. Time now to take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. On the east coast, showers, St. John's and 14, Charlottetown cloudy and 9. Cartwright partly cloudy and 6, Nain 6. Gaspé 8 and partly cloudy, Quebec City 8. Toronto 10, Windsor 11 and sunny. Timmins 3, Thunder Bay plus 8. Churchill 6, Puckatawagan 9. Dauphin 15, Princess Harbour 13. 14 in Regina. Saskatoon, same temperature, 14. Stony Rapids plus 9 and sunny, Buffalo Narrows 10. Rain and high level at 6, Peace River sunny and 9. Medicine Hat 14, Red Deer 12. 9 in Vancouver and showers and Kamloops at 8. Smithers 5, Dees Lake 2. Plus 1 in Mayo, minus 1 in Beaver Creek. Norman Wells minus 3, Watee plus 2. Fort McPherson minus 5, Inuvik minus 7 and cloudy there. Baker Lake 3, Chesterfield 3. And Iqaluit plus 2, Clyde River minus 7. Prisoners across Canada are producing goods for Crown corporations and more recently for public consumption. Coming up this week on an all-new episode of APTN Investigates, Brittany Guillot takes an inside look behind the walls of Canada's prison farm program, where experts warn the true cost goes far beyond dollars and it's raising difficult questions about dignity, rehabilitation, and justice. With more on the story, Brittany joins us now in studio. Brittany Guillot, thanks so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule to chat with us about your latest work. To start us off, can you explain what CORCAN is?
Thanks for having me on. So CORCAN is a special operating agency within the Correctional Service of Canada. So it manages prison industries that provides offenders with employment opportunities and job training while they serve their sentence. So the official line from the CSC is that these employment opportunities are designed to help prisoners reintegrate back into society so that they have the skills and training necessary to do that successfully. However, it's unclear just how effective that is, as CORCAN does not track post-release outcomes for prisoners. The goods and services produced are used by federal departments and in some cases enter the broader Canadian market through commercial distribution channels.
And how can you tell us how common prison laborers are in Canada?
So according to the Correctional Service of Canada, in the 2024 to 2025 fiscal year, more than 15,000 inmates held some form of work assignment in federal institutions in Canada. Payment levels range from $5.25 a day to a maximum of $6.90 per day. While the CSC describes the program as voluntary, participation in work is often included in an inmate's correctional plan. And if this plan is not adhered to, if the work is not done, it can affect their eligibility for parole and their early release. Work can range from cooking and maintenance to industrial production and farm operations. And as APTN Investigates learned, milk is being produced on the Joyceville farm and it's distributed for public consumption.
And Brittany, inmates working in federal correctional facilities have not received a wage increase since 1981. How does Correctional Service Canada justify this?
The CSC says inmate pay is based on several factors, including accountability, program participation, and progress toward the goals outlined in their correctional plans. payment levels. When we asked about the payment levels, why they haven't increased since 1981, CSC did not provide a specific explanation. They just said that the proceeds from prison labor industries are reinvested into rehabilitation programming.
Brittany Gio is an investigative journalist with APTN Investigates. Brittany, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And you can catch APTN Investigates Fields of Confinement airing tomorrow night on APTN. Every Friday, Kim Sullivan, host of Nouvelle Nationale, joins us to give us a preview of what's on tonight's French broadcast. Kim?
Hey, Creason, results are in. The Quebec Abenaki Commission genealogy research on those chiefs claiming to be Abenaki in Vermont and New Hampshire. You'll get those results tonight. We also talk Quebec Constitution as the government here is trying to table the law of all laws. And of course, it's problematic for our First Nations. We have an update about the elections in Mohawk territory of Kanesatake. And we welcome two guests in studio to talk about a great initiative APTN has with the Indigenous Screen Office. Tonight, 6:30 Eastern.
Thank you, Kim. And finally for us, the wait is almost over for Blue Jays fans.
Let's go, Blue Jays, let's go! Let's go, Blue Jays, let's go!
Excitement in Toronto and across the country as Jays fans, young and old, will get to see World Series baseball in Canada for the first time in 3 decades tonight. The Toronto Blue Jays kicks off the World Series, hosting the Los Angeles Dodgers in Game 1 at Rogers Centre in Toronto at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Go Jays, go! Here's to making baseball history again. And that's your Friday newscast. We're back again for your weekend wrap-up tomorrow and on Monday for your daytime newscast. From all of us at APTN National News, hi miigwech masicho. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again. Have a safe weekend with family. Ekse.